Lance and I met at ACU, and it was kind of convenient that we met, and our families only live about an hour and 15 minutes from each other.
She was a freshman, I was a sophomore, I was a transfer coming from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and she was from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we ended up in a class together but didn't really know each other. From there, we kind of developed a friendship and just kind of started hanging out.
So we started dating officially, I guess, at Christmas, and then got engaged in March, and then got married the following Christmas. And then we actually worked with physically and mentally handicapped adults for a year. We were house parents, and we look back now and realize that God was totally preparing us for what we were going to be doing, raising a large family.
I think our original plan was, well, we'll adopt a couple and help a couple of kids out, and then we'll maybe eventually have a few of our own biological kids.
Lance and I off and on had always talked about adoption. The idea of like a special needs child, because we had done DRI, was always kind of interesting to me.
We'd always said we were going to wait 5 years or so, be married 5 years before we had a kid, and I kind of just sprung it on her one night as we were driving home from church, I believe. I said, why don't, we've talked about having kids, why don't we adopt?
That was the exact words. And I don't adjust to change very well, so I was kind of overwhelmed with that idea. But I told him, okay, well, look it all up and let me know. And so he did. And so we started with Covenant Kids.
They were the first ones we called, and when we called them, it was, we felt home. We felt like we made a connection, and everybody that we've met there has always been so helpful, and we've always found the answers we're looking for, and if they didn't know, then they're searching for us and they're helping us, and we always felt loved.
We wanted to go through this process. We knew that there would be a lot of kind of gloom and doom, and sometimes we knew there would be some negative things to look at, but we wanted all that to be presented in the light of Jesus. We believe that Jesus can heal anything, and so we wanted to go through an agency that would say, yes, these are the facts, but we believe in the Lord.
You come across and you hear things about the numbers of kids that need homes and that are in our own area, and you don't realize that until you're kind of confronted with some of those statistics, and it's hard to turn away when you start knowing those things and you see those numbers. We realize there's so many kids that need help, and there's so many kids out there that need a place.
We got our home and everything was finished. We were officially licensed. That would have been April the 10th of 2006. And they told us it would be 6 to 9 months before we heard anything. And then April the 20th is when they called us. So it's 10 days later. Because we only wanted to do adoption. And so we were kind of told that's going to take longer. And so it was 10 days later whenever they called us. And that was with Leslie, Aaron, and Darren.
We were expecting older kids. When you go through the meetings, they tell you most of the kids are older. So that's kind of what we were expecting. And so I was at home building bunk beds and putting together basketball goals and those kinds of things. And we got the call, and it was a 3-year-old little girl, an 18-month-old little girl, and an 8-month-old little boy. And so kind of blew our mind. That's not what we were expecting, and not what I was expecting. So we'd been kind of gearing up, and then we got the call that it was younger kids, which was awesome, but it just wasn't what we were expecting.
Okay, we got them on June the 12th as our gotcha day that we celebrate. And then we adopted them, it was like February 22nd, I believe, was their adoption day. So theirs was perfect and flawless, and everything went very smooth.
And they were with us for 4 months, and the process was going good, and we told Covenant Kids, this is great. This has been an awesome process. We love our family, and God has blessed us.
We told Covenant Kids that instead of birthing children, I think we're just going to go about this again. There's kids that need homes, and we feel comfortable doing this. It's really gone smooth. So we think later on down the road, instead of birthing children, we just want to go through Covenant Kids again.
We want to do this again in the future, or we're thinking about doing it again in the future. And we kind of meant 2, 3, 10 years down the road in the future.
And then they called us, it was like 2 weeks later.
Covenant Kids had called us and said, when you said that, how serious were you? Because we have 2 boys that would fit perfect into your family. They're a 6-month-old and a 6-year-old.
And apparently when they had ran Covenant Kids database, we were the only family that had immediate spots available for those 2 aged children. And so she said, you're the only ones on the list that have an immediate opening for this situation. Would you be willing to do this? And so that was in the middle of October. So we had Leslie, Aaron, and Darren June to July, August, September. 4 months is how long we'd had our first group of 3 children.
Our heads were spinning. We knew the number of kids out there that needed help, but we were new parents of 3.
So I called Lance to come home from work on his lunch break, and we just prayed right in the kitchen, like, are we really supposed to do this? Because it was foster care. And we had never wanted to do foster care. All they could tell us was this is a foster care situation, but we felt like this call is coming to us for some reason.
And so that was also something that was different because we had only wanted to do adoption only, where we knew when those kids came in, they weren't ever leaving. And so it was these risks that we were gonna have to take that we weren't, that we were more unsure of.
So we prayed that if they walked through the front door, that they would never go out the back door, that they would be here forever.
It was an opportunity to step out of the boat and to put our trust in God and to put our faith in that.
We knew not too far along into the process that they were going to be here forever, but initially we didn't know that, so we were very nervous and scared because we didn't want to do foster care. We didn't want the in and out. That wasn't what we had signed up for, but I guess God knew that.
So we went from 0 to 5 in 4 months. We were very much on the fast track of learning how to be parents.
We knew pretty quick we were going to get to adopt them, but the process was just really lengthy. Covenant Kids was huge in that whole process because we had the boys, it was a total of like 21 months before we were able to adopt them.
We've talked to our kids about their own story and their own, the role that adoption plays in their story. We're very open and honest, and we let them know that that's a blessing, that they have such a unique story that can be shared with other people.
We celebrate the day they came to us, not their adoption day. We always do something and take a family picture on that day, and it's just a good opportunity to keep those conversations open about this is the day y'all came to us, and you know, we're so blessed that we get to be your mom and dad, and it just kind of keeps that dialogue open so there's never that, I'm adopted, you know, and we have life books for them. So we always put the picture in their life book, and that way they kind of have that. Every year it's a conversation that we revisit, you know.
The fact that I have a wonderful family that when I get home they run up to me, and then the fact that we get to make awesome memories together, and that they're on this journey or this story of life with me, and that I get to be called their dad is a huge blessing.
Adoption has been an amazing experience for Lance and I. It's had amazing moments and it's had challenging moments, but one thing that I can say, any time throughout our journey that we've needed Covenant Kids, they have been willing to help, and Covenant Kids has even helped us when our kids were adopted, and we were not even connected with them as far as we weren't a foster home anymore, but we've been able to call Covenant Kids and say, okay, we're dealing with this and we don't know how to handle it. And so they've definitely been a support for us and a guide for us well beyond the time of having an open case file with Covenant Kids. And so that has been a great blessing.
I think Covenant Kids goes above and beyond what you would expect from an adoption agency to do, and we've always felt that from them.
Anytime that I have needed guidance or wisdom, they have been right there with us to help us out on the good and the bad. This is Clinton Carter. We got Clinton when he was 6, and now he's 14, and he's getting tall very, very quickly. And this is Patrick, and he goes by Pat Pat sometimes. And we got Patrick when he was 6 months old, and now he is 8 years old. And then this is Leslie Sue. And we got Leslie when she was barely 3, and now she is 11. Yes, 11? Yeah. Okay, this is Erin Lane. Erin Lane was 19 months old when we got her, and she is now 9. And this is Darren Miles. Darren was 8 months old when we got him, and now he is 8. So these guys are in the same grade. They're 6 months apart, but they're in the same grade in school. So they're kind of like twins, but not really. And this is Lance. Is that how I'm supposed to introduce? This is Lance. I could not do it without Lance. Oh my. We call it organized chaos. It's a fun adventure, but it is a lot of chaos. And to other people, it doesn't probably look organized, but to us it is.